maybe we can have like a reading circle, Prof. I mean, we select one major books and everyone read,
Yes.
then present, Prof. Listen to it and give
Yes.
comment. That's
Inshallah.
another idea.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, to enrich our knowledge, inshallah.
Because everyone is capable. If we don't share what we read, maybe we don't get the complete about the gist of it.
Really, it's true, which is very true. Yeah.
Okay, Prof. Can I start?
Yeah. Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have the opportunity again with our dear Professor Fatimah tonight. As Prof said last time, tonight Prof will talk about Al-Ghazali, the most prominent, I think, after the Prophet, maybe Al-Ghazali is the second person that we know well. I mean, quote unquote.
Yes.
Not a qualified statement. You all know about Al-Ghazali. But not many knows actually what Al-Ghazali is doing. We just know a little bit on the surface. So we look forward, Prof, for tonight's lecture, inshallah. Okay, Prof, go ahead.
Inshallah. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إنما بعثت لأتمم مكارم الأخلاق. Good night, my dear brothers and sisters. First of all, chairperson of this program, Brother Shahran, and all the audience tonight. Inshallah, I hope there's something that we can benefit from this class or this online. I myself, I'm studying this very hard in order to understand, and I hope what I understand or have understood from my reading on Al-Ghazali's contribution can be shared together, inshallah, for the benefit of refinement our own character, because the message or the risala of Prophet, the main important risala of prophethood is to perfect the character of human being. Yeah, so topic today, refinement of character, Al-Ghazali's contribution to modern psychology. I think character building is a hot topic, popular topic in Western literature as well. Of course, for Muslim, this is from the first day of we receive revelation until end of the world, we are actually refining continuously, changing, refining our character. That's why this is the risala or the message, the purpose of prophethood to humanity. Yeah. So topic of refinement of character is very important. But tonight we would like to hear, or at least to study, to examine what Al-Ghazali's contribution in terms of refinement character and its contribution to modern psychology, because modern psychology speak a lot about human nature, about character building, about emotion, about, even we speak in the last class about emotional intelligence, about spiritual intelligence, all coming from Western literature a lot. Yeah. So changing character is not easy. To refine character is not easy. This is whole life struggle, or struggle in order to become a better. So my course, my outline for PowerPoint today I will start with the nature of human soul very briefly, and then go to dynamic theory of human soul, and then speak about purification of the soul, or Al-Ghazali called it as tazkiyatun nafs. Even it's not the term used only by Al-Ghazali, but this is a Quranic term, tazkiyatun nafs. And Al-Ghazali offers 3 ways for character's transformation, and then a cognitive behavioral therapy that we can learn from Al-Ghazali. And in the very early age of Islam, today we call it as CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, but this CBT is not new for Muslim. For those who understand the contribution of our great Muslim scholars, and these great Muslim scholars, for example, Al-Balkhi, Al-Muhasibi, coming from very early time, yani Muhasibi very early, I mean after a few 100 years from Prophet's time, and then Al-Balkhi, and then Al-Ghazali, Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawzi, of course before that also Miskawai, and many others. So these great Muslim scholars, they are actually Muslim psychologists. Ibn Sina, of course, included, and many others actually. So they were discussing this topic because character is core. Character is the most important subject when we speak in Islam as a religion. Yeah, until we need a prophet to come and to give us guidance on that. Yeah. So first, I explain a little bit the nature of human soul. In Islam, the nature of man is good. Yeah, fitrah, based on fitrah. Yeah. Unlike any other religion, in Christianity, the nature of man is evil because of inherited sin. Yeah. Okay, so Islam is both body and soul. Man composed of body and soul. He's at once physical being and spirit. He is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted human being with animal properties like bodies, like all what we have, external senses, internal senses. Allah gave like intellect is external senses, perception also a form of senses, and also imagination. So this is animal properties. We need this, yeah. Otherwise, we cannot survive without these animal properties, yeah. And then not only that, Allah grant us a spiritual faculty, because without spiritual faculty, how do we understand Allah? How do we understand the world beyond, the metaphysical world? How do we understand the concept of akhirah? How do we understand the concept of punishment, the concept of paradise, and all things that related to the spiritual world, angels and all this jinn and all this? We may not understand if we are not granted with spiritual endowment. So this spiritual endowment in spiritual faculty is the true seed of knowledge in man. And then that's why we have terms like al-aql refers to intellect, an-nafs refer to a soul, al-qalb refer to heart, the heart, and ruh refers to spirit. All this actually, so the name are many, four there are there. There are 4 terms there, but it actually is only one single spiritual substance in man. Without this, without the existence of this spiritual faculty, man is not different from animal. Yeah. So at least, I mean, for those who believe that man coming from animal, I think they have not understand or they have no idea about spiritual faculty. Yeah, because if people insist, for example, at least we say between men and monkeys, or as like a cousin, yeah, still we are different. If people insist to equate man and animal, apes, so with these terminologies, so it is proof, at least proof for Muslim that we are different from animals. Yeah. So this term, because of this nature, we have animal properties in our body. We have cognitive ability. We have a faculty of souls, spiritual faculties in our body. So you cannot imagine there's a lot of conflicts between antagonistic powers of the soul, as that of devoted armies engaged in perpetual battle. That's why we are up and down, because of the things inside ourselves. So some powers in ourselves fight to pull human being down to the depth of his bestial nature, and the opposite powers, the good powers, fight to raise us to a transcendence angelic nature. Yeah, so this is the nature of man from Islamic perspective. Yeah. Now we would like to focus more on the concept of dynamic theory of the soul, or we can call it also theory of means. Yeah. So, or theory of al-wasat, concept of balance. Yeah. So Al-Ghazali mentioned that human personality, um, as the integration of spiritual and bodily forces, yeah, that create personality. So the body is the home of the soul, and the soul is greater than the body. The soul is superior than the body. They are influence each other, and every act produces an effect on the soul. For example, if we curse people, the curse on people, or hate people, or killing people, there will be effect on our soul. Yeah. This soul-body relationship, known as traditional interaction theory, is referred to as concept of al-wasat, or balance, and of the faculties of the soul, or we call it theories of means. This theory of means, or al-wasat, actually has existed since before Islam, in among the philosophers in Greek philosophers. Yeah, they discuss this theory of means. This is as old concept. Yeah. But of course, when Al-Ghazali developed the theory, of course he doesn't just copy or just take it without a critical analysis of the terms or of the concept. Of course, we have guidance, and we have the Sunnah, the Seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. We have the Quran in order to explain, or to enrich, or to sort of what do you call uh, to perfect the concept itself. Al-Ghazali explicated, this is talking about this human soul. He speak about 4 qualities of the soul. First, he explained as predatory. Second, animal. Third, satanic. And the last one is divine. Yeah. The predatory quality, we are talking about quality of the soul, refers to the fury or rage. Animals refers to the desire for food and sex. Satanic refers to the ability to commit evil. And divine, the utmost quality that requires the greatest investigation and the greatest jihad and insight to attain this level of the state of soul, which is very special. Yeah. A balanced or moderate state of the soul is maintained when anger and appetite are under the control of the akal or intellect and sharia, religion. Yeah. So without religion, so Al-Ghazali using here as sharia and akal combination of the two in order to maintain the anger and appetite, to control, yeah, not to suppress, but to control, not to subjugate, but to control, yeah. There are differences here. When you subjugate, for example, anger is natural. There should be, this is one of the properties, animal properties that granted to human being. There must be reason for that, for the use of human life. But just imagine if person has no anger at all, he will not defend his religion. That's why we have jihad, concept of jihad. Of course, I don't mean jihad to that in the form of extremist practice. Yeah. But anger should be directed properly so that it becomes positive. Yeah. And also appetite. Just imagine if you have no appetite, not given the sense to eat, you cannot produce, you cannot survive. Yeah. So all Allah grant to us is always reason because of His wisdom and His knowledge. Yeah. So when anger and appetite are under the control of Aql and Sharia, so it produces a balanced or moderate state of the soul. When the power of anger is moderate, it is called courage. And when the power of concupiscence is moderate, it produces temperance. In Arabic, temperance is ifa. Yeah. And shahwa, if it under control with the direction of reason and religion, so it will also produce moderation. And then this moderation will produce qualities such as chastity, contentment, tranquility, fear, obedience to Allah, cheerfulness, and modesty will appear. So in shahwa, when it is properly controlled, will produce good qualities. And ghadab or anger, when it is controlled, qualities like courage, generosity, fortitude, endurance, and forgiveness emerge. And both shahwa and ghadab or anger are subordinated to the angelic element, qualities such as knowledge, wisdom, faith, and certainty will surely develop. Yeah. But if shahwah dominates, because no control of reason and sharia, the progress of the soul towards its goal is affected. So the development of the self is not moving. Yeah, it is regress maybe. Bestial characteristics such as greed, gluttony, wickedness, hypocrisy, and jealousy will appear. Yeah. And if anger here, when I mention anger, means Al-Ghazali used the word shiddatul ghadab. Yeah. Anger in need to be controlled. Yeah. Anger dominates characteristic of vicious animals such as enmity, hatred, contempt, pride, and love of self-aggrandizement will acquire. So these are dynamic of al-wasat or balance theory here. So man is standing between animals and angels, and the uniqueness about human being is because of the is Allah give them akal or intelligence. With this intelligence and guided by Sharia, he can go up to the level of angels. And then if without guidance of Sharia, intellect has been abused, so he can bend down to the level of the animal by permitting his anger and lust to dominate him. Yeah. And he become even worse than the animal, as Allah mentioned in the Quran. Yeah. So Allah created all bodily organs and faculties of the self to help man to realize his fitrah. As I mentioned in the beginning, that Allah created man with good nature from Islamic perspective. Yeah. Potentially good nature. Yeah. So the realization of fitrah can be achieved only when the intellect has fully utilized. So according to Al-Ghazali, behavior depends on the qualitative effort at the spiritual level. Yeah. Activities like prayer, like fasting, like zakat, hajj, and all other good deed human being to other creatures of Allah. So all this is a form of qualitative effort done at the spiritual level, with a good intention and following the Sharia properly. So there are three levels of nafs. Just now we say quality of the soul or nafs. Yeah. Now we are talking about levels of nafs as mentioned in the Quran. So there are three levels of nafs. First, an-nafsul ammarah bisu, the impelling towards evil. And second level of nafs is an-nafsul lawwama, the soul that is changing or blaming, nafs. And the third one is an-nafsul mutmainnah, the pacified nafs. So there are three level or stage of the soul, according to the Quran, referring to personality of human being here. So one will acquire a variety of virtues of his or her intellect to gain the supremacy of what is yeah. If one is unable to control his appetite or anger, or biological and emotional urge, so the soul or his soul or her soul will take over her intellect, and this will lead to immoral and wicked behavior. So about the control here, that's why the meaning of Islam, our religion, the very meaning of Islam itself is actually self-control. Submission itself is you submit to the higher soul. You do not submit to the lower soul. And the meaning of submission here related to self-control, very much. Yeah. So if one is unable to control, then it will lead to immoral behavior and wicked behavior. In order to strengthen oneself from evil forces, from shaitan, influence from shaitan, or whispering from shaitan, we need to have right knowledge and action. Right knowledge and action. Right knowledge involves faith in Allah, knowledge of Islam, knowledge of Iman, all this, and also knowledge of man's essential nature, knowledge about the self, knowledge about the self, what are the nature of our soul, psychology and nature of our soul. These are very, very important knowledge we should know. Otherwise, we may not realize that we are doing troubles all the time to people, but we are not even aware of our behavior. So we do not even know our personality. We do not know what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses. And then there is self-examination, because we are not aware of ourselves. This is not good to our soul. Yeah. Right action or conduct is obedience to the religious and ethical commandment of Allah. An individual will achieve the highest level of psycho-spiritual development if the intellect has a complete control over their soul, when the intellect is guided by knowledge based on revelations. So to understand the revelation, to understand the sunnah, the seerah, are extremely important in order for us to know, to have the knowledge on Islam, knowledge on our religion, and knowledge of ourselves. Very, very important here. Psycho-spiritual health process will happen when the heart is gradually awaken and have lights from the lights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the cognition of knowledge of Allah, ma'rifatullah. Yeah. When there is ma'rifatullah, psycho-spiritual health process will happen. Yeah, because the heart is awakened and awakened with nur of Allah, the light of Allah. Yeah. Only when the self recognize the ultimate transcendent reality or divine unity, that the nature of the Lord of the universe, his attributes and all this, human being can change his personality to overcome and to free itself from all kind of influences alien to the real human self, to the fitrah, yeah, and return back to the original nature, to fitrah. Yeah. So knowledge of Allah, ma'rifatullah, is not easy to get. One need to struggle. This is talking about ma'rifatullah is a very important aspect in the Sufi literature. Belief in Allah generates deep feeling of love and fear of Allah, and fear and God's conscious taqwa in him. So when there is this combination of iman, combination of emotion, love and fear of Allah, this is iman and taqwa. Yeah. This increasingly captures the domain of emotion that facilitate the growth of inner personality endowment and protect them from being corrupted by lower drive and patience. Love of Allah attributes to positive value to all those virtues. Yeah. And then virtues which are appreciated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and on the contrary, and fears of Allah attribute negative value to all traits and behavior that are condemned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So combination of these two emotions, love and fear of Allah, leads to psycho-spiritual growth to its height. So it is extremely important to have this love and fear and Allah. And then from this love and fear, then eventually we develop another quality like khushu and all this in our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Purification of the soul is extremely important in order to reach the perfection of the soul. We have to purify, we have to train, and education are important in this. And then that's why Rasulullah SAW message is to perfect the character of human being, and then to teach us how to purify ourselves, tazkiyah and wisdom and all this mentioned in relation to the risalah of prophethood, yeah, in order for humanity. So the soul can be transformed into the highest level of spiritual attainment, i.e. nafsul mutmainnah, when the after being purified through training and education. Yeah. And Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Ash-Shams, that by the soul, that proportion and order given to it, and its inspiration as to its wrong and its right, truly he succeeds that purifies it, and he fails that corrupts it. Yeah. Qad aflaha man zakkaha wa qad khaba man dassaha. And this is about purification of the soul. And then I would like to also to take some from Muhasibi, speaking about the purification of the soul is very important, because it's a both sin and righteousness proceed from the soul. Yeah, proceed from the heart, sorry. And because according to its purity and impurity, and from the heart man will attain salvation or perdition. Yeah. And then he suggested most profound treatment for the soul is mediation of remembrance of Allah, zikrullah, tasbih, glorifying Allah, and prayer, salat, for mental stability and for curing the mentally ill. Yeah. Ibn Qayyim mentioned about ways of cleansing the heart from impurities. These impurities cause some heart to suffer from psychological pathology. So the rust of the heart is polished with, again, he mentioned about the significance of remembrance of Allah as-zikr. And because as-zikr, remembrance of Allah is like a polisher of the heart until it becomes like shiny mirror, according to Ibn Qayyim. So he said when remembrance of Allah is abundant, it become rusty, the heart become rusty. And then when it commences, the heart again to be, begin to be cleansed. Yeah. So how to cleanse the heart? Of course, he mentioned about seeking Allah forgiveness, al-istighfar, and also remembrance of Allah through zikr. These two mentioned a lot by great Muslim scholars of the past. Al-Ghazali mentioned that functional disease caused due to ignorance and deviation from God. The ignorance lead to deviation from Allah. When the darkness of ignorance afflict the heart of a person, it will be alienated from divine guidance. And then the process of perfection is disturbed. And then until at the end, it become blind because of the darkness of ignorance, not physical blind, but like spiritual blind. Yeah, ignorance is a disease which is opposite to knowledge, and ignorance is the enemy of reason. And definitely, it is once it has corrupted thinking, it becomes incurable. So ignorant people say as ummul, as the mother of sin. Yeah, because it's opposite knowledge. Yeah. So all form of temperament, desires, egocentricity, personality traits require again urgent identification and address. And when we speak about self-purification, they need to be controlled and directed to the right path. Of course, by prescribed following the teaching of Islam. And emotion and desires occupy a vital part of human soul, and both emotion and psychological dimension of man have positive and negative impact on human behavior. So human behavior need to be managed and oriented to a higher spiritual objective. And then his psychological nature is discipline. So when we speak about transformation, we have to start from inner transformation. That's why in order to cleanse the heart, to cleanse the self, it's inner cleansing. We need to have not possible. This process, self-purification is not possible without proper observation and treatment and changing human behavior or character. So the individual and societal change should be in conformity with or proceed spontaneously from a genuine realignment of the soul. So Al-Ghazali suggests 3 ways for character transformation. First of all, Al-Ghazali defined character for, this is not only his definition, but majority of Muslim scholars, particularly in Islamic ethics, define character as an established state of the soul from which action proceeds easily without any need for reflection and deliberation. Yani spontaneous character. So if this state, the state of the soul in such a good action, so it how to say good action here, of course, to reason and Sharia. So it proceed from this good action, equal good character. Yeah. So character and is internal and hidden state of the soul, while action is the external one. Yeah. So character, akhlaq, is the inward cause, while action is the outward consequences. Yes, they are interrelated. Yeah, a good character hence begets good action, whereas the bad character yield bad action. Yeah, 4 good virtues make up good character: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. So Al-Ghazali here outlined 3 ways in to change your character for better. So first, according to Al-Ghazali, first the good nature. Some people born with good nature, like of course the category of Prophet, particularly. Yeah, some people born with good nature. Yeah. Second, in order to change your character is by self-training or riyada. In the riyada, you exert your effort to do action and reflect good characteristic until it becomes habitual and pleasant. You repeat again and again. That's why every ibadah that prescribed Islam teach us to do it regularly, because this is self by nature. It become discipline. When it's this properly do it, it become our habitual behavior, become our habit and pleasant. Yeah. So the third method is about observation and association with good people. Yeah. So I quickly skip some of the time is short, very little left. I just go to cognitive behavioral therapy. Yeah, contribution of Imam Al-Ghazali. The first step in correcting evil character consists of awareness of the character itself. Yeah. Just now we speak about three ways. First, about good nature of human behavior. Second, about let me go first. I forgot. Yeah. Third is about observation and association with good character. Okay, so in order to, when we speak about refinement of character, according to Ghazali, we need to do this. We need to have these three methods. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah. So how do we relate his contribution to cognitive behavioral therapy? Okay. When you speak about correcting evil character, correcting evil character needs awareness of the character itself. In order to change a character, one needs the help of spiritual guide to observe and to notify any defective character. A character that is defective character is a disease of the soul. And the cure consists of total removal of the cause to disease. That's why Imam Ghazali speak about root cause of, for example, if you have excessive jealousy or excessive anger, for example. So you need to know yourself what are the root cause of this disease of the soul, because excessive anger is the disease of the soul. Yeah. So one method is one method of correcting the behavior here is through therapy by the opposite as cognitive remedy. For example, if you are, for example, greedy is another form of disease of the soul. Excessive anger is also a form of sickness of the soul. Yeah, so you need to know the root cause. Yeah. So treatment by opposite, if you are greedy, for example, you need to be generous, the opposite of it. And anger is the ghadab or excessive anger. You need to be cool down and face. Yeah. So this is so Al-Ghazali suggests treatment to the method or therapy by opposite to this disease of the soul. Yeah. In evolve, identifying the undesired trait, for example, excessive anger, and identifying the opposite trait and preserving to perform the opposite trait repeatedly until a desirable virtue will be established. So training yourself, of course, I mean, if you're in the context today, you may have counselor or psychologist or psychiatrist that can help you in doing this cognitive behavioral therapy. Yeah. Al-Ghazali had contributed a great amount in the development of what modern psychologists call cognitive behavioral therapy. Most psychological problems such as phobias are treated with CBT such as systematic desensitization. Yeah. In this method, the client is asked to use imagination to see himself in a desirable and tranquil environment. Sequently, they are then instructed to imagine the situation that had evoked the undesirable psychological problem. This is repeated until the tranquil feeling overpower the problematic feelings and individual is habituated. Yeah. Al-Ghazali has contributed to a great extent to theoretical aspect of this therapies by saying that a Muslim who wishes to change his behavior should imagine himself in the desired condition. So he must gradually perform those acts until he becomes integrated. So Al-Ghazali assert that once an individual behaves in a certain way, it will be reflected in his thinking and his emotion. So, and once his thinking emotion change, it will be reflected in his overt behavior. So Al-Ghazali speak about contemplation connected with remembrance of Allah are essential for the positive changes of Muslim behavior. So contemplation is the key to every good behavior. Yeah. Qualifies all cognitive action of the believers with remembrance of Allah and the recognition of His favor and grace. So people, when they contemplate, it becomes a sacred and wholesome part of their nature. Their heart becomes submissive and they respond to every agitation and their environment with gentle emotion which control the intellectual activity. So Al-Ghazali influenced Ibn al-Qayyim because al-Qayyim speaks about the role of inner thought in relation to human action and observable behavior. If your inner thought is negative, so it influences your external behavior. He argued that the role of inner faculty is not to agree with destructive thoughts or the negative emotion, but always work for the transformation to make it positive. Yeah. So Al-Ghazali insists that contemplation is So he speak about the change, the process of transformation with this contemplation zikir and contemplation. So this one very much very positive, whereby it will leads to awareness, self-awareness, and self-awareness involve observing oneself and recognizing feelings as they arise, seeing the links between the thought, feelings, and reaction, seeing the consequences of alternative choices, recognizing one's strengths and weaknesses, and seeing oneself in a positive but realistic light. Yeah. They also gain the ability to remain cognizant of feeling as they occur. Those who, with greater certainty about their feeling, according to modern studies, become successful in their life. Yeah. So here, yeah, I will skip you. Think Al-Ghazali mentioned how to overcome anger and remaining calm over a long period of time is possible only by exercise patience. So treatment by opposite. Yeah. So anger, the opposite of anger is patience. So exercise patience again and again and again until it becomes your habit to be patient. That's how you overcome your anger. Those who help people, for example, with themselves in experiencing hardship can do so only because when they are patient for the sake of Allah. Yeah, and they behave this way because they know that helping others is definitely you earn Allah's approval. Yeah. So the ability of a just person to pardon an unjust one also is a characteristic of true patience. Yeah, so this is the way how to be Al-Ghazali advice, which is very useful, and then which just like considered as like a contribution to cognitive behavioral therapy today. Yeah, so the cognitive behavioral therapy is not new. This is there since we have our own in our literature. Yeah. So CBT is according to Professor Malik Badri, CBT alone shares goods consistent with Islam, which also present religious codes and strategies for the best possible way of life. So here we can combine, or we can sort of use CBT from Western perspective, because the nature of CBT is quite, there is no such contradiction. I mean, because the nature of CBT itself, it is a form of cultural bridging, yeah, therapeutic. They use, for example, they use praying and fasting in a place of customary relaxation technique used in CBT. Yeah, so they appreciate religious and cultural element in the treatment itself. So the advance of such cultural bridging is that a client's devotion to Islam and Islamic tradition is harnessed with established therapy, which is made all the more successful because it becomes culturally sensitive. And integrated CBT or Islamic approach exploit the strength of both systems and create a synergistic therapy. Yeah. So I think yeah, this is the end of my lecture. So we would like to attend or question, to respond to question if there is any, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Prof. We go direct to the first question.
Okay.
Prof, please
Yes.
explain the relationship between heart, akal, naf, and shahwat in the unified system of behavior. Which one has the most dominant influence on human character?
Okay, there are 4 terms here just now.
Yeah, akal, naf, shahwat, and heart.
Al-qalb, shahwat, I think self, and al-qalb. Okay, this 4 names is referring to the one single entity, spiritual entity, spiritual substance in human being. Which one is more dominant? It depends. It depends on the way a person, for example, if a person is weak in control or lack of knowledge, for example, or then when a person not ready or not struggle to cleanse the self, okay, to purify the soul, so definitely the desire or nafs or self in the form of yeah, impulse and all this will dominate a human being. Yeah. But if a person, for example, work hard, they do all this qualitative action, you know, based to upgrade the spiritual level, then the heart become the qalb becomes strong. Yeah, become powerful, more powerful. So it depends on what do we do to ourselves. Yeah. If we do not pray, for example, we pray late, for example, or we eat a lot, or we just we do not care, but we do not control ourselves. For example, we can easily shout. We are angry, anything simple. We are angry, and we speak bad about people. And we make ourselves become slave to our desire or our what do you call this? Our impulse. We become slave to it. Yeah. Instead of being the king to control. Yeah. We have no self-control toward ourselves. So that one become the king, dominating ourselves. Yes. It depends on the way we deal with our internal our soul.
Yeah, Prof. The next one, in the Ghazali's view, the soul is very dynamic. It can lead to bad or good the position of Islam is to try to moderate the dynamic tendencies of the soul. My question is, can you explain the fundamental differences between the Islamic conception and Western secular spirituality in defining the soul, and also how to discipline the dynamic of the soul?
Yeah, most of the talk just now speaking about the dynamic of the soul from Islamic perspective. From Western perspective, so far, they mention the word, at least they say in the past, Western psychology have no soul, okay, in the past. Now they come back to the soul, Alhamdulillah. But the definition of the soul so far, there is no clear, but now they focus on emotion. At least one aspect of human self. Alhamdulillah, they come back to that. Yeah, in the past, if you follow or you have some knowledge in psychology, we started with psychoanalysis. Okay, psychoanalysts look at the way they look at men. Very negative, definitely. Man is evil. Homosexuality is normal. By so doing, I would like to reply also, because this is Freudian time. So, but nowadays it's not relevant anymore. Western people not even look at this book, textbook anymore. No more. Freudian psychology is not popular in the West today, because most popular movement of psychology in the West is cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavior, CBT, is the most popular. Cognitive psychology is more popular today. So contribution of Freud is no longer relevant, is obsolete. So when he said that spirituality is abnormal, when people become spiritually abnormal, his word has no value anymore. Yeah, because people do not believe him anymore, because his framework in his psychological foundation is man, the nature of man is evil. Okay, so that's why we find all explanation. And also don't forget, Freud was under the influence of cocaine for many years. So of course, when he's influenced by cocaine, you understand, I mean, that kind of behavior. Okay, so so when Western literature, Western psychology, when they explained about inner dimension, they appreciate the existence of emotion. So that's why we have positive psychology after that. So positive psychology speak about very good things about, explain about emotion of people to a great extent, or to some extent. I myself, I benefited a lot from positive psychology, particularly speaking about positive emotion. Because if we want to change our character, we have to control our emotion. Emotion is neutral, but if we do not take care of our emotion, so we may not benefit in order to have character building. So character building is very important, and connected strongly with the control of emotion. Yeah. So only that part. I mean, Western psychology put something which is like, there is internal or internal dimension in the psychology. At least when they remove the soul, they come to emotion. I can say that much. Yeah. But as for other concept in psychology, if they refer to, or the group that refer to spiritualism, that one is spiritualism that based on the foundation they learn or they borrow from Buddhism mainly. So based on brain, the study of brain, meditation and all this. So doesn't not much related to the inner dimension other than emotion. But the contribution in emotion is very good. I think when I read the book of emotion, we understand a lot about ourselves. Yeah. So this can be contribution from Western perspective. Yeah. What else I miss? Rest of the question. Yeah.
It's okay, bro.
Yeah.
We invite Brother Syed to ask question.
Jazakallah khair,
Okay.
Ustad Shahran. Always a pleasure. Professor, we met last week. I think you remember my question regarding emotional intelligence in West and how they are culturally appropriating it. Actually, I wanted to say to the group, actually, I don't know if there's a lot of people from West, but as a student of psychology and also a counselor, I see that CBT in West is using it not in an Islamic way. They're using it in a very materialistic and quick fix way. 5 sessions and then you're changed. And our Islamic CBT, if we can use that word, is more holistic, as you say, Professor Fatima. So I think I want the brothers and sisters in Southeast Asia to know that even if we see that there is a bridge, I see this bridge sometimes in West as very quick fix, materialistic, like how we communicate in Twitter, 140 letters and then we are done. You know what I'm saying? I am as a person that is inclined to Sufism, we know we need to work with Tazkiyah many years, like the whole life, you're never done. Like look at Imam Ghazali, he went to clean the toilets in his old mosque when he was the Grand Mufti, he changed his life. That is Tazkiyah. They don't believe in this at all in West. It's only quick fix. And my question also is regarding PDT, the psychodynamic theory, Professor Fatima. Do you see that we can use that as well within the Islamic framework? I see some good things in it, like speech therapy, going back to your traumas in the past as something that comes and evoke your psychosomatic things in the future. Do you see that could be also beneficial? Just
Yes. Why not? Yeah. I think there's nothing wrong. Of course, I mean, being critical is very important whenever we take anything from outside our literature or our tradition. Yeah, but in general, I heard so many psychologists speak about that, about the psychodynamic as something positive that we can sort of borrow. Yeah.
Jazakallah khair, Professor. And also, I just wonder, in a society which is corrupted, like West, how can we work with Tazkiyah and all these things when the whole society and the norm is so materialistic and also so atheist and secular? How can we do it? It's so difficult.
I cannot imagine. It must be very, very tough. But I think it's nothing impossible. We start with small scale with ourselves. I mean, as much as possible, even with ourselves. I mean, we can say if we can measure 10% or 20%, you know, Tazkiyah. I mean, Tazkiyah is varies or varieties of Tazkiyah. I mean, for example, you give donation is a form of Tazkiyah. Donation, you with a purified intention for the sake of Allah, you being humble. This is a form of Tazkiyah. There are so many ways. You can do alone without people even knowing. So at your level, so anything to start small at your level, yourself. I mean, nobody will interfere with you. I mean, in doing Tazkiyah. I think it is difficult, but it needs a lot of gradual process, repetition, and istiqamah. I think this is the key to do things. Inshallah.
Thank you so much for your great knowledge, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you, Brother Said. You prepared a long PowerPoint, Prof. If you can forward to us and we share with all the friends, inshallah.
Yes, sure.
Many points there we have seen, inshallah. Okay, Prof, summary for tonight before we close.
Okay, so summary for tonight. Let me go to see. Our great Muslim scholars like Al-Ghazali, Al-Muhasibi, and the rest, they are all, as I said, they are Muslim psychologists, and they work very hard in order to help human being, to help humanity to find way or towards character building. So, and we have in our tradition, when it comes to character building or we have a comprehensive, holistic system. Yeah, it's not only like when we speak about character building, it is not only one character building related to personality building. It's the same thing. Yeah. So we in Islam, we all the time stress on comprehensive, holistic personality. So comprehensive, holistic personality refers to we cannot have that unless we clean our soul, unless we purify our soul, unless we train ourselves with education and knowledge about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and knowledge of ourselves. We have to have knowledge about ourselves so that we know what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, and what are the kind of personality we have. These are very important. Knowledge about self should be considered as knowledge of fardu ain, because if we fail ourselves to know ourselves, we are at times we cause trouble to people who are not aware. We are not aware that we are a person who troublemaker, for example. We cause problem to our subjects, to our subordinates, because of lack of knowledge of the self. So with that, I have to thank again the audience and Triple IT's Brother Shahran, and Jazakallah kulla khair. Assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam, Prof. We'll see everyone next week, inshallah. See you, Prof. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.